Good morning and welcome to our weekly Tourismus show. With me in the studio is Chloe Deer. Welcome, Chloe. And my name is Frank Steffen. I'm the editor of Allgemeine Zeitung, but I'm also involved with Tourismus Namibia, obviously. And with that, we bring you a couple of news items and new destinations again. So let's go for the topics of the week first. Yes, and we had some good news this week. The Ministry of Environment, Tourism and Forestry, which is called now, has announced that all our heritage sites will be opened again. This is obviously good news for all of us. We're talking in terms of Brandberg, we're talking Teufelfontein and such like. Always nice to be able to extend the opportunities for local tourism as well. Here you can see the White Lady, obviously at Brandberg. And it is important that it seems as if these heritage sites sort of exclude the Irongo region, which is obviously still under lockdown. So, but yes, this gives opportunity for locals to travel around. Typically our campers love to go to these sort of sites. This was actually a photo which was made last year, which we published in the Allgemeine at that stage, because they suddenly had elephants visiting Brandberg in those areas. Yeah, so it is obviously sometimes one always has to listen to if you come there and you listen to the people at the entrance gates, because they even had lines there already. So it might be a good idea to just watch what you're going for.
Keep an eye out.
Yeah, no, it is.
Go have a live.
Yeah, and then on another point, and this is obviously welcome news for you, also a news item. We'll be launching our Tourist of the Year in a very short time, so it might be a good idea if you watch your press, and obviously we're talking Republikein, Allgemeine, Namibian Sun, and even on our internet sites, Irongo and Windhoek Express. What we're trying to do is, as part of the Namibia Tourism Expo, we'll have a competition running, and it will start in due course, because we would like to have our final candidates sorted by the time their NTE starts. And the idea is for people who visit various sites. We've got some of the bigger tourism businesses that want to partake in this, and they'll actually allow our people to come and visit, or these people to come and visit their lodges. They actually record the whole journey to the lodge. They'll record whatever they do, what the opportunities are, and so on. So it's obviously a free weekend for them, but they in turn facilitate a bit of news. And the idea is for this to be sort of available live, and then at the NTE you'll actually be able to actually look at those shows, but also to then have an interactive visit to those lodges.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah, so I think that might be a nice idea. And at the end of the day, the visitors at the show will finally vote for the Tourist of the Year. In other words, you'll actually have a look at all these shows and say who's the one who presented his lodge or hotel or whatever it is the best.
It's nice for viewers also to be able to visit the lodges.
Yeah.
So
I'm actually looking forward to that, because the idea is that the people will almost work on a GoPro basis, and actually if a visitor at the NTE wants to see what's going on at your water point, then they'll actually go there with a camera and actually show the people what's happening.
That's fun.
Yeah, no, I think there will be many people who will enjoy that, and it gives a better insight into what's going on, instead of just looking at pamphlets and here I am at the NTE and presenting my lodge or whatever. So it does not necessarily have to stop with the people that take part in this competition. One could easily, if you've got a stand, it's up to you to do it. So yeah, very interesting, and it seems like Viva Energy, the guys who sell Shell products, they are interested in taking part in this. So this whole thing is a new approach, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Then I wanted to tell you a bit about TÜV Süd, which is quite a nice idea. We don't normally sort of run ads at this point, but with COVID being on, they've got what they call a hospitality check, COVID-19. It's based on a standard TÜV Süd. TÜV is obviously the organization in Germany that generally looks after cars and generally sort of allows you to be up to standard. Okay, and a local business, hospitality, textile supplies, if it interests you, and you've got a lodge and you want to make sure that you comply with COVID regulations, they've got a whole program assisting you on how to get there and do your thing, which I think is quite important in these times. Yeah, and those are our topics for the week. Brings us to destinations, and that's actually why Chloe is here. So let's see what's going on there. Yeah, welcome back. And Chloe Deer obviously writes for Tourismus Namibia as well. So tell us a bit more about what you have brought along.
We were actually just looking at the pictures now, Frank and I, and really wishing that we could be in Bagatelle right now, camping in those Kalahari red dunes. But it is definitely a destination I would put on your travel list, especially as a local at this time. It's some of the most special camping experience you will have. I mean, the stars are unlike anything I've seen before, but also just the experience of being completely isolated in such a surreal landscape with the red rolling dunes and everything. A nice tip actually is to bring some brown paper bags. They make incredible like lanterns at night and just emphasize the red, because it illuminates the red sand and it's just unbelievable. But
the big thing about that area is, and what I like about what I see, especially in the aerial photograph, is that these camping sites are far apart. That used to be the case in Namibia almost everywhere. And for some or another reason, it has recently become more and more fashionable to sort of come closer.
Oh, there's nothing worse.
And I actually love it when you've got more than 50 meters between you and your neighbor, and you know everybody does his. Yes, you can hear them once in a while, but it's not all the time.
I think at some point we need to talk about camping etiquette, because sometimes I'll never understand it. There'll be campsites open all over the place, but people will decide to camp right next to you. And it just, but in Bagatelle, it's just that there isn't, as you can see in this aerial shot, they are very far apart, and you don't even notice one another. So it's just such a magical experience that I mean, for locals who live in Windhoek, it's close to Marienthal, a weekend getaway, unlike any other.
3 hours drive, basically.
It's honestly, there are actually no excuses. You know, it's right at our doorstep. It would be cold now. I mean, judging by Frank's clothes today, you wouldn't think it's -1 degrees, but it's actually very cold, so pack accordingly, and it'll be magical. So I recommend it definitely.
That's very nice, especially these areas, and like you said, it's within reach.
Yeah, I mean, now is the best time for locals in Namibia, you know, to be able to really take advantage without tourists all around.
You've got special rates that they're offering now, so that they obviously want you to come.
Yeah.
And then this is a nice time to actually camp, because the summer can be very hot.
Yeah.
And if you go for game drives now and so on, at least you die in the heat. It's actually quite nice to actually go out during the day.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I always like to include a little bit of local atmosphere to create the sense of what Namibia is all about. And up north, fishing is just so much a part of local life, and seeing all the different ways in which they fish is unbelievable. They have those beautiful fishing baskets, which are ancient actually, that are woven, and then sometimes you'll see like a stick that's in, and no people around, and yet that's got a line on it, and they're fishing throughout the day. And you know, it's a really magical thing to see. I mean, whether it's on Makoros or on the side of the river, but they catch huge fish, actually. I think they get tiger fish, they get, catfish.
Even tiger fish.
I mean, it's unbelievable. And, you know, so once again, it's just a very nostalgic kind of scene that you will see when you go to the north, and that's really special.
What is nice about this is it's traditional fishing, and what I like about them using the baskets is that they don't actually catch the tiny fish. Yeah, because that's the big thing that's been going on for a while now already. Not to pick on the Chinese now, but they've brought that much finer mesh. Yeah, and so what happens is when they fish with that, all fish is caught, even the small ones, and there's no habit of throwing it back. So automatically, bit by bit, you've got these dead rivers with no fish being left over time. Yeah, it was actually a concern for the Ministry of Environment last year at one stage, where they've actually forbidden certain tight mesh nets to be used.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still it's wonderful to be able to have the river right there, so that even in times like COVID, they have access to food and fish, and so that's beautiful. So I always love to include something like that. But speaking of the north, River Dance is also an incredible lodge right on the Okavango River, and I mean it's got such a unique. It's old, it must have been built in the 70s or something, but it almost feels as though you're a ship on the river itself, and you're in amongst the trees, and you feel absolutely absorbed into the environment. And once again, you are surrounded by local life, so you'll have the people going past on the canoes, and the hippo and everything at night. But I mean, it is freezing. I will say that it is absolutely freezing. But the setting is unlike. It's actually one of my favorite settings that I've been to so far, just because you are on the river. It's not like it's in the distance.
Make no mistake, I think when you were there last, it was still winter temperatures, wasn't it?
Frank, when I say it was freezing, honestly, I don't think I've ever been so cold in my life. But it didn't taint my experience at all. But it is. The name River Dance just encapsulates everything about it, because the sun sets right in front of you, and so it's just you're constantly in awe of your surroundings. So I've got to say that it's worth the trip. Definitely, if you're in the area.
But it's that way all over Namibia. You generally find that it doesn't matter where you go. Namibia has got so many different faces.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is about. And that's what we're obviously trying to do here, is convince people to not always go to the same destinations.
It's easy to do that, though, because you can almost become emotionally connected to one place and then continue going there. But like you're saying,
but then I always remember that I would, for years, I would go down to the south, for example. I was very much connected to Sossusvlei in that area. And then the first time I properly looked at Damara land, and I suddenly thought, so different, still so nice, why didn't I come here earlier?
Exactly.
And then you go over to Bushman land, and suddenly it's a totally different thing again. And if you go up to Zambezi, it's the same story. So
it's a country of continents, and everywhere you go, you could be anywhere.
It's totally different.
So anyway, we just love highlighting the difference. How vastly different the Kalahari is from the north, and it's the same country, and yet...
And we're not exactly talking a huge sort of distance that you have to go.
Yeah, but I mean, don't go from the Kalahari to the north in one day. You'll probably...
No. But the point is 500 kilometers is not exactly that far.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, those are destinations for today. I hope you had some fun watching it. And that brings us to our weekly interview, To the Point.
We are having a very special interview. We are here with Mr. Rudy Pitter, Managing Director of Avani Windhoek. Mr. Pitter, good to see you again. How are you, sir?
Very good, and yourself?
Very well, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, with lockdown and with the COVID pandemic ravaging the tourism sector and also really hitting the hospitality sector very hard, we want to check in with Avani Windhoek and see, what they've been cooking up over the lockdown period. Subject, sir. Can you tell us a bit about I would hate to say, the flavor in the industry? What is lockdown and COVID is going to be around for a while? What is your perception on the impact on the industry?
Look, the impact is vast, because it's not like a normal strained trading environment where you deal with a constrained market, or you maybe suffer with some sort of supply, or this is like opening a brand new concept of a business in a brand new market.
Yeah.
Because the history that you had on consumer behavior or competition within the market, or what type of product is preferred by your market, all of that is basically wiped clean and you start afresh.
Yeah.
So the approach we took is to look at possibilities of what we think our customers would want, we obviously know that our customers would put their own safety and that of the people that they're going to be sharing time with, at a huge premium. And for that, we've catered extensively.
Yes.
So from sterilization procedures, updating the use of our chemicals, how we treat our washware, the dishwasher cycles, after that, safe procedures with PPE of our employees, to then seal off cutlery so that nobody would polish cutlery with possibly contaminated hands. It'll come out of a really high temperature, sterilized environment. It'll be sealed. Sure. And from there, it'll come to your table. There will not be table settings before you actually sit down at the table.
Wow.
So that the cutlery, crockery, glassware that you have in front of you would be sterile.
Yeah.
And would then be handled by you alone, as you go through your mealtime.
Wow.
That together with the fact that we have moved our tables apart, we cater for a maximum of 4 people per seating as per the guidelines. And we look at a meter distance, like you and me are apart at the moment, which is seems to generally be the consensus on a safe distance for people to be able to have a conversation without contaminating one another.
Yes, sir.
Further to that, as you can see, we have all our sliding doors and as many windows open to also enhance our natural circulation of fresh air within our venues.
Yes.
Further, to disperse, contamination and congestion of if you want to call it, possibly polluted air.
Yeah.
So, all in an effort to contain. Then, sterilization and hand sanitizing. We do not allow anybody to come onto site without a mask.
Yes.
We also comply with the regulations in relation to capturing who comes on the site, their contact details, their physical address, and maintain that record should there be any instances of contamination.
Yeah.
That we can facilitate and assist the authorities with effective tracing. Interestingly enough, and maybe a little bit of a disappointment to us in the industry, if you look at the previous assumptions of what stage 3 would look like, there was an assumption that gaming would be allowed to start operating.
Yeah.
And we've gone through an extensive exercise to get our casino offering ready for that. The first thing is that we have, in the past few years, segregated our gaming floor into 4 different areas.
Okay.
So we offer our private room, we also offer our exclusive suite, which is bookable by people. And then you can invite other players to spend time in there with you, so it's quite exclusive.
Yes.
Then we have a privé area, and then we have a main floor. So we've gone and taken our entire gaming floor and reorganized it.
Yeah.
We reduced seats for every gaming table to only 3. We introduced, sterilization and sanitization protocols onto those tables. All our dealers will be wearing full facial shields.
Yes, sir.
To protect our customers. We'll have regular sanitization of our chips in between games. We will dispose our cards at the end of every shift so that there won't be any shift-to-shift contamination.
Yes, sir.
And we've moved all our gaming equipment, gaming machines apart by 1.5 meters.
Wow.
So it's an extensive investment in reorganizing that portion of our business, and now it looks like we have to wait another 28 days before we can start operating it.
And before we can start using our Avani cards again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the downside is, in the meantime, you won't be able to earn points, loyalty points that you can spend in Stratos or downstairs.
Yeah.
The good news is that we will definitely honor the points that customers has on their cards.
Yes.
And we've also taken a decision that we will reinstate any points that expired
Wonderful.
during the lockdown period, so that our customers will have those points at their disposal. And we will also maintain your status depending on where you were rated in our loyalty program.
Yes, sir.
So if you were downgraded one status because you were not able to play as normal, we will honor your status for a period of 6 months going forward to allow you the opportunity to get back to where you used to be. So we're really putting our customer first in reinventing how hospitality and gaming would look like.
That is incredible, sir, because
From a hotel point of view, the view is that we will have massively depressed demand, both for conferencing as well as for leisure and business stay, at least until the borders open. First off, I think we'll have the first opening of the border between us and South Africa, and then possibly international. And both those will then bring back two waves of recovery, one for business travel and maybe a little bit of local and regional leisure. And then obviously our major leisure market, which is then the overseas market, will then return. And only when that market returns, which in all feasibility will only be in the next tourism high season, which is June next year, which is a year away from where we are now. And it sounds scary when you think about it, but historically, December, January, February, March has always been a fairly low season for leisure travel. And then a little bit of a spike in April, and then really end of June to July through till November is our peak tourist season from Europe and elsewhere as well internationally. So we anticipate a slow recovery in those markets, but our local market we think will recover fairly quicker, with the only constraint being the possibility of constrained personal disposable income.
Absolutely. So we understand that you guys are launching new menus for both Stratos and the pantry. I think did lockdown give your chefs a bit of creative time?
Look, I think it's twofold. On the one hand, we do seasonally change and update our menus with regards to the ingredients available, latest trends. What plays a big role is the feedback we get from our customers. In the surveys, in the conversations that management has with our clients and our guests, where guests makes recommendations, say, I see that you don't have this, or it would be nice if you had that. We take that on board. And then we obviously look for inspiration as well and innovation like we always do. And that is what inspires the creation of your new menus. So in the lockdown time, business as usual has disappeared. So innovation is important, but there's other factors that also became a lot more important in the meantime. Things like preparation time, the ability to prepare something safely. Holding times for certain menu items, cost, pricing, because I think that post the crisis or in the recovery period where we're now entering, price consideration would be huge. And as such, we do want to offer a wider variety on our menus so that you can choose. You can either have a really, extensive and extravagant meal that is still available, and we've kept the dishes and the things that was legend, that we were known for. But we've introduced lower cost options. We've introduced a lot more health options as well to cater for the new normal. So that's what informed our chefs, and that's what inspiration they took in designing our new menus.
Excellent. So everyone can enjoy moving into this new stage with a beautiful, beautiful meal from Avani at Stratos or the Pantry, and also the Dunes restaurant.
Okay, so for now, we're not going to, on a daily basis, commercially trade Dunes. We are trade ready in Dunes, but being a buffet-style restaurant, and I'm not sure what the demand for that would be. We have opted to use that restaurant in the meantime for any conferencing business and groups exclusively.
To adhere with social distancing.
That will enable us to comply with all the safety protocols and social distancing If we do serve our guests in the buffet restaurant, we have moved that concept. The layout remains pretty much the same, but the concept will now be a lot more live frontline cooking.
Yeah.
And all the serving would be done by a team member of Avani rather than the guests themselves. And that's purely just to cut down contact from person to person with serving utensils, to make sure that we don't pass on any contaminants, should there be any.
100%. No, that's a very good way of approaching the market now, and people have been coming to the dunes as a tradition, and now they can still do that, but with a twist.
Absolutely. We're obviously toying with the idea, looking at how demand recovers for rooftop, which was before lockdown our most popular venue. The pantry has always been doing fairly good day trade, some takeaway business, but then early evening we've seen quite a bit of demand for light meals, coffee shop and bistro type menu items, and then a drink with that. So before we were able to serve drinks, which we can do effectively as of today.
Cheers.
Yeah, well, I don't set a good example with the water, but
Appetizer.
so we will see how demand recovers for those two outlets. It is early days, and just as much as we had to re-engineer what we're offering, I think our market will re-engineer itself with regards to what its demands are.
Absolutely.
We are highly concerned about the available disposable income, and as such, a buffet meal offering on a buffet-style restaurant has got a higher price entry point than potentially a menu, where you can decide whether you want to do one or two items, you want to add a starter and a main course, or you want to have 3 or 4 or 5 courses for that matter.
Yeah.
Whereas from a buffet point of view, your pricing flexibility is not as big. We will, in a few weeks' time, if demand in these two restaurants recover, Pantry and Stratos, we will reintroduce 2 of our most popular menus or meal periods, which was the Sunday lunch and our Friday evening special seafood feast.
Nice.
We will coincide those with the offer when we can resume trade in our casino, because that also facilitates quite a large footfall.
Yeah.
And further than that, we'll have evening demand that will outstrip the supply possibilities under social distancing for both Pantry and Stratos, and as a result, we would have to add capacity, and that capacity addition would mean that we will start operating dunes, closer to its normal dinner offering, if I can put it that way.
Yes.
Right, that is just to give you a different perspective from one of our customers, obviously. But I suppose they have the views, or carry the views, which many of you have as well. But this brings us to the close of our show. Finally, we would still like you to have a look at our picture of the week. It is very cold at the moment here in Namibia, and this is a typical picture that you are likely to take on a very cold day. This is down at the Orange River, looking over the border towards South Africa, and I mean, this is just beautiful. This is typically the scenery.
The colors.
And it's typically the scenery that you have if you drive from Noord-Oever over along the Orange River towards Rashbina and onto Oranje Mond. There you continuously find these multitude of colors.
Is this from the Namibian side?
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, because on the Namibian side, it's actually the Namibian side is not as rough and tough as it is on the South African side. That's why the road, I think years ago already, started to become the sort of average.
Who's the photographer?
This was Christine Eisenring. So it's not a new photo, but it's a typical photo that sort of fits into this environment. Yeah.
Because I know we did a trip there, which is going to be covered, and I saw it from the other side.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how different the colors are actually from the Namibian
and then it
side.
obviously depends what time of day.
Oh, yeah.
You can clearly see here, this is probably right early in the morning still. But it's like a very sharp picture, and I just loved it. So.
But speaking of pictures of the week, if you have any photographs that you want to be featured, on our Instagram, we regularly feature beautiful photographs that capture Namibia. And yeah, we'd love for you to share them with us. So it's just Tourismus_Namibia. And yeah, give us a follow and tag us, and we'd love to share your experiences, because that's what it's all about.
Exactly,
really.
and being Instagram, obviously Chloe makes a point of posting something each day, so it's not as if you need to get bored and never see something different, and she's got plenty of photos. She obviously goes around and is all over the country, so yeah, please follow and see what's going on there.
Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for viewing, and see you next week.